Welcome to episode 109 of Nobody Special.
On this episode, we talk about Tiger King.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two Nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the cats and kittens, and host of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, you're the host of Nobody Special. This is a podcast where two generations of people talk about God, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all while not taking any of it too seriously.
I'm about to lose it from that intro. Hey Caleb, how you doing?
Good.
Caleb.
I thought that I did something wrong.
No,
I was like
it's
trying to keep on going.
I was going to say something else, and then I went for that instead because we're talking about that today. But first, Caleb.
Yes.
My world is on fire.
Is it?
Yeah, just everything going on. My world's on fire. How about yours?
Is there a joke I'm not getting here?
That's the way I like it. And with everything going on, I never get bored.
I don't like this.
Hey, now, you're a rock star. Get your game on.
I'm done. No.
Get your game. Go play.
I knew it was something.
Hey now.
And I want to punch you in the face.
I was talking to a friend just because all of us are video conferencing into everything, and we kind of start joking and saying it's like I'm gonna start working in inspirational musical quotes into everything just to see how it's going.
Yeah.
And we were gonna see if we could throw in Smash Mouth. So I think the first one of us that does Smash Mouth in the middle of an actual meeting gets $5 because we're all telecommuting.
Yeah.
Telecommunicating. Anyway,
you got to get the change line in there. Somehow. That's the golden line.
Somebody once told me no.
The world is.
Now Caleb, I wanted to bring this up before our other thing.
Yes.
Have you been experiencing the same aggressive ad campaign for Quibi?
Yes.
That I am experiencing?
Wait, hold on. Ask how long.
How long?
Just a Quibi. We're sponsored by Quibi.
We are
Wouldn't
not.
be surprised. Yeah.
But if they want to pay us quickly, we will gladly change the tone of what I'm about to say next. Actually, I'm pretty sure after this, we will not be sponsored by Quibi. If you had told me there's an online production agency that I think is trying to quasi-compete against a YouTube that produces 10-minute shorts, I would have said, oh, this is bad. This is bad. Especially now, as people, they need hour and a half documentaries to keep them going because we have the time.
Yeah.
But then I'm getting all the commercials, and it's, as I'm staring at everything, I'm going, why are you doing this? This feels beneath you. I mean, Kiefer Sutherland's in it.
I mean, I think I actually really enjoy the idea.
I do too.
I hate their ad campaign, especially the airplane one, which is what I was kind of mentioning before, where the captain's like, we'll be landing in just another Quibi, and then it cuts to the co-pilot as she's like watching her phone. I just hate it. I don't know why that one specifically
the landing part
annoys me.
We need you during the landing part, please.
But I'm a huge fan of short films,
but they're 10-minute episodics.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, just put them together.
I mean,
put the 5 episodes together and make a
where
show.
There's that 10 minutes where your boss is in the other room and you don't want to work that day. That's what it's going to lead to ultimately. But I mean, I could see it like riding on the subway or something else.
Yeah. Like,
I'm trying to think.
Right. Riding a subway or the subway.
What is something that's like a 10-minute ride?
Waiting for
the subway.
A pizza that you ordered 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And it feels bigger than it actually is, and that's confusing to me because they've
It
got
does feel really big. It
they've
feels
got
like
a lot of names for this, and
Yeah.
I
They had
would
what's
guess
his
they
face
are
from
out
Chronicle.
of money.
And he played the Green Goblin.
Yeah, horribly casted Green Goblin.
Yeah, I thought he was a fine Harry, and then they pulled out the Green Goblin thing. I was like, no.
Yeah, he's too
No.
straight man to play Green Goblin. I mean, it was
Yeah, it was a
too
hard
nutty.
cut. It
That
was
whole
a
movie,
smash.
that whole movie,
Yeah,
it was
sucked.
it was a train wreck start to finish. But no, Quibi is yeah, I can't spend money on another streaming service. If I get another, it's going to be CBS.
Right.
Because there's a few shows on there I'm interested in watching, and I still haven't paid for it, even though I could probably get a month free and just power through and then
CBS?
cancel. Mm-hmm.
What do you want to watch on there?
Picard and The Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, I do want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, one of us is just gonna have to sign up for that trial and then come over and we'll just plow through those episodes together.
Yeah.
And like, all right, cancel it because I'm not keeping CBS All Access. Like 7-day trial. Okay, let's go.
Right.
So 2 a day. Let's do it. But no, Quibi.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. It's probably bigger than I think it is, and it's just it's been a really aggressive ad campaign that has a lot of big names in it that I'm just like,
Yeah.
for a thing I've never heard of, everyone is in this, and it's just kind of feeding into the cultural ADD of I can only focus just a little bit amount of time.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if the thing that they're doing is it's either crazy smart or entirely moronic, and there's no middle ground for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they're spending a lot of money on 10-minute shorts.
It's an aggressive ad campaign.
Yes.
Do you know what else is aggressive?
What?
Animals are sometimes aggressive.
Caleb is dipping in to the segue. Let's do it. Hit me.
Thanks
Animals
for
are
giving
aggressive.
it away.
Hey, tell me more about animals.
You know what?
Is there a specific
Is a
animal
really
that's
cool
more
animal?
aggressive? What? This is finally happening.
A tiger.
A tiger.
Tigers can be aggressive, so can bears. You know what? Those animals
Why are
have
you
recently
pivoting
been
to bears?
featured in.
Why are you pivoting to bears? We watched the bear movie the other day.
And some would say, there's a king over tigers.
I am going to let you sweat this out because of the amount of times, and there's audio and video evidence that I've tried to do segues,
And I ruined it.
and you just ruined it. Please continue with this segue that we'll never find because the pilot is watching a Quibi. That's called a callback.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Tiger Queen.
Oh.
No.
Hold on. We have to figure out if I'm bleeping that joke or not. I don't know.
The tiger. Oh my gosh. I didn't even mean it like that.
Yeah, buddy.
But
We're
talking about the Tiger King.
Everyone's
not
been
that.
talking about it, and there's a certain thing Caleb and I aren't going to talk about because we just don't. There's nothing to say. I'm not a medical professional. Are you a medical professional?
Yes. No.
Has anything happened that is worth it? Well, that's actually not true, but that we're interested in talking about?
No.
Connected to certain animals that were undercooked and eaten. We don't want to talk about that.
Unless
so
it's a tiger? No.
Yeah, exactly. So instead, we're going to talk about the thing everyone's talking about on Netflix, Tiger King. Now, I started watching this because I saw about 100 memes talking about did Carol Baskins kill her husband?
Right.
And I had no idea what they were talking about, so I'd scroll by and be like, that's weird. And then the man that had the mullet, I kept seeing that picture, and I'm just like, there's something in the cultural kind of the zeitgeist I'm just not getting right now. So
yeah,
we're gonna have to watch that.
It is kind of funny. My favorite meme is where it's like a photo of not Bart Simpson, Homer Simpson, and just surrounded by like coronavirus and Tiger King. It's like this is all people are talking about, which is true.
It's very popular, and it could be because everyone is stuck inside, but also because it's just a really compelling, odd story that has it doesn't feel I binged the entire thing in 3 days. It's only 8 episodes. Oh, super not kid friendly. So, crazy, amazingly not kid friendly. So if that's a thing, if you're a younger child who is listening to our podcast, hopefully none of this will make sense to you. Dear goodness. And if that kind of stuff is squeamish, talking about a murder, it's not even about cats.
Yeah.
It's not a lot about big cats, but the entire time I'm going through it, I was just thinking, like, are these real people?
Right.
None of them felt real. That these people are people who exist.
Right.
Did you get that sense at all? Just kind of going through it?
Yeah. I mean, it is so redneck. Just.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy. I don't know. I mean, well, there's only one part of it. It's redneck, but it is. Yeah, it's crazy. And I was sick the day that it came out on Netflix. I'm not proud to admit that I watched more than half of the episodes in one day.
I had to pace myself. It was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But all right, now on a film perspective, because I know that's the thing that you're interested about. How'd they do?
I mean, I think it was fantastic. I think that their ability to draw someone in, like, I know it's good when I forget about film things and I'm just watching and I have to watch more.
Okay.
Or else I'm not satisfied.
Right.
And that's typically like, it was really, I wouldn't say there's any like cinematography that was particularly amazing. I mean, they had some shots that they awkwardly like switched to a different aspect ratio, like the anamorphic, but you know, it was really good. Yeah. But like,
and now just a brief understanding of that. I mean, if I'm trying to explain this, it's a documentary on a Netflix. How do I explain it past that? It's how do I? Because I was trying to figure out.
The hardest question I've ever been asked.
As I can put it together, it's a 8-part documentary about a man named Joe Exotic who owns a tiger, big cat, kind of a breeding place and a zoo in Oklahoma that gets into a feud to another animal place in Florida, in Tampa, actually. And then it grows and the drama grows until there are multiple felonies, 3 husbands, and a murder for hire plot. And Joe is now in prison, and probably a few of his associates are not far behind him. Not far behind him. And there is the person that he got into a feud with, Carol Baskins, there is allegations that have been thrown out that she may have fed her first husband, who was loaded with money, to the tigers. And
also, real quick, if you haven't watched it and you're interested in watching it, obviously just stop listening. But also come back after you're done watching it. I mean,
this is gonna be spoiler.
We gotta get into it. You know, it's good.
I don't think anything I've said didn't come up in the first episode, and that's the weird part. They're pretty open.
The first 20 minutes, they literally lay everything out, and then they just get into the detail.
Right. In the entire time, It was a train wreck. The whole thing, it was a wreck of just watching it happen and feeling as if there isn't anything I can do. So I just have to sit here, watch it happen, just keep the episodes going because it's not real. And if I watch enough of it, they'll come out and say, April Fools, I got you.
Yeah.
but they just didn't. They never did it.
Yeah.
And then go and Google the other news stories. It's all real.
Yeah. The thing that got me is that sorry, I thought about something else in the show, but okay. Not even related to the point I was about to make.
We're having to pick and choose what it is we're talking about on here.
That like she started out in Amelia Island. I think it was Carol Baskin's first like sanctuary or house was. Yeah.
Oh no.
And I was just there at the time, or like not really. I had just been there over the past weekend.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird.
Right.
This is all too close to me.
Right. Yeah.
And that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I have family in Tampa now. I'm trying to get my mom and dad to go to the zoo.
Yeah.
And they won't. And because I won't tell them why. I'm like,
Danny, why do you want us to go to the zoo? Is that hers? The sanctuary?
Yeah. Yeah. Sanctuary's hers.
Yeah.
So now, throughout the course of this documentary, a lot of shocking things happen. A lot of shocking things come up. And there is a question as to when did it stop? I mean, these are people, both of us talked beforehand, and these are people that all of us kind of think they started off caring about the tigers, and then at some point it turned into the anger and feud between them that led to an attempt on Carol's life. Allegedly, do we have to say allegedly at this point? I don't know. He's definitely in jail.
Yeah, he's in jail.
But
I think
when do you think it turned? When did the anger take over, do you think?
I mean, I think it's when obviously they all have like their own story, but they all have their own kind of view on the tiger world and how tigers should be treated and what is in the best interest of them in the long run. And it really, I think the pressure came between him and Carol when, she's trying to push it legally, and obviously started, verbally accusing him of everything and him doing the same. And like that just gets to the point where it's going to build up pressure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's where the bulk of it came from. And obviously, you say bad things about each other and it makes you lose business. And that's kind of like, I would say, the root of the whole thing and that feud, in the conflict of the whole story is that, and honestly, like I might be getting into this a bit early, but the thing it reminded me of the most as far as like spiritually, and I wasn't even trying to like think of this, is just Christians and how we're all in the same game, but we all have slightly varied views and theology to the point where like, we get pretty cutthroat about it sometimes and are not loving to each other because of legalism or what one person would view as a lack of faith or anything like that. And that's like what I kind of saw is just this big old kind of family fighting, because they're not family obviously, but but they're so tied in the same world.
Okay,
but yeah,
that's interesting. I
that's
didn't kind of put that together.
That's basically what the story is just.
So they, but to that they had differences on how to treat tigers. I mean, Carol, she was very open about don't breed tigers and that kind of stuff. Although they did bring up her past of having bred tigers and how to do it and everything. Yeah, and I think people can change, and so I'm not gonna kind of slam that too hard. But the thing about that is the other end, and this is the point that I don't, or I hope Christianity isn't doing that, that these two people couldn't let it go or understand that they both care about tigers. And that's kind of the point that I think to both of them, it stopped being about the tigers and started being about the conquest And there are, I guess, pockets of Christianity that do that, but overall, I don't think that's the overall tone of Christianity, even on those that disagree.
Yeah.
And the disagreements are tricky because I can think of a few groups that do that, but they're claiming the other end is a heretic, and that's been brought up on this podcast over and over. So
right.
I'm not going to hash that. Or
Yeah.
if there's a question, email me, and I'll be glad to throw down some answers on that. But neither end could give any kind of grace to the other person, and it just became this thing of, I'm going to hate them because I hate them.
Right.
And that got kind of dangerous, and they're making assumptions about the other person's motives and that kind of stuff that they fed their own hatred when they didn't have clear evidence to that, and they both just kept pushing each other.
Yeah.
And if one of them had just stopped pushing, I think this thing would have gone a lot different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, man, that's a good point though, that as Christians we have to come together and be on the same teams, even despite a few of our non-essential differences. Is that kind of the thing that you're saying?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so how do I handle it though if there is a difference I feel is very strong though? I mean, I don't think how Joe Exotic did it was the right way.
Obviously, you order someone to take them out.
That is a joke for everyone who is not sure.
That's the only logical option here.
You know, one of the things that got Joe in trouble is he recorded these kinds of conversations like we're doing now. Like,
yeah, if you want to commit a crime, I'm just
threats.
going to give you a tip. Don't do it on video.
Right. But that was the thing. They had all the cameras going because everything he did, it was a production, it was a show.
Yep.
And just if cameras are there 24/7, then it's the same as them not being there. And he's like, I'd like to put a bullet in her head. And it's like, you can't say that on camera, my dude. Like, that's just footage that it's just there now. So
yeah.
No, the entire thing got me concerned that these are real people.
Right.
That they exist out there. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the things is that that kind of stuck out is that everyone had a horrible past of some kind, that they couldn't get in another sphere of influence. Yep. I mean, after they'd gone through drugs, they found other people that did drugs, and they shared drugs and encouraged each other to do drugs. Then they brought in some felons, even though drugs are is
yeah.
It's already a felony. But then they brought in other people that have done a lot of felonies, and instead of holding each other to a higher standard to not do felonies again, they fell back on the only thing they knew how to do, which is felonies and extortion and bribery and this kind of stuff, to the point that they couldn't get out of their own sphere of influence because they didn't try. And
right.
That to me that was kind of a big takeout point of, as Christians, we need to understand that I'd say most of our times our spiritual blind spots come because of the type of company we keep, all being the same person.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to a bunch of alcoholics, and I'm an alcoholic, well, the thing they're probably not going to challenge on is on being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And to be challenged by people that are different is kind of a difficult trait, but also to be understanding of the influences that people actually have on us. I think people underestimate that a ton.
Yeah.
You know, Joe, the owner, and yeah.
I mean, let's call him by his real name.
Joe Exotic, which I think that's his actual name. Didn't they change it? I think he changed it to that.
You really?
Uh-huh.
Well, I thought in the court proceedings or whatever however you say that, it was like his full name.
I think with AKAs, they also had him like Joe Maldonado Passage something.
Oh, wow. You know his full name. I can remember it.
Yeah, buddy.
Damn,
no, I mean,
up.
The idea of character, though, that that struck out a ton. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians 15:33-34. It says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Come back to your senses as you ought and stop sinning." Which, by the way, is the clearest I think scripture can be. Is like, come back to your senses and stop sinning. Because there are some who are ignorant of God. I say this to your shame.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, this is Paul talking to the church in Corinth. He's just straight up telling us, like, hey, bad company corrupts good character. And that it was actually a quote out of a poem of that day. Everybody would have known, but then he expounds on it and says, come back to your senses and stop doing the sin that you know is a sin. And that got me thinking. I mean, I don't do meth or murder for hire. I don't do those.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm holier than other people, but on those are not temptations for me.
Yeah.
But to stop and think, okay, where am I keeping spiritual blind spots because of the company I keep?
Yeah.
And I don't keep bad company. I mean, I hang out mostly at churches. Again, I'm not holier.
Danny's a good boy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I try.
Yeah.
But
I mean, don't we all?
No, apparently not. Like that was part of the scary thing, is no one encouraged each other to like try and be good. They encouraged each other in their madness.
Right.
And then it got me thinking, do I have any kind of madness that I encourage myself in or don't talk about or any of that? I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's really, it's definitely a good point. I mean, because they're all just feeding into each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe's husbands, I mean, we said we were doing spoilers, so I'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're
Husbands,
basically
plural,
were around, or at least the first two, were around because they wanted drugs, and addiction has to be fed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the way to do it,
mm-hmm.
that's what they did. And
right,
you know, luckily, I think one of them got better. He has new teeth now.
Yeah, meth. He rotted his teeth out through meth. So
yeah.
And
the other was so, you know, lost in that he was flauntlessly just committed suicide. Is what it sounded like.
He on accident killed himself. I think it's different than suicide.
He on accident. That was an accident.
Yeah, because he said before he shot himself. Sorry, spoilers for this. Because he had a gun out, which is just problematic in and of itself. And said, "This gun, if there isn't a clip in there, it's not going to fire. Watch." And he held it to his head, pulled the trigger, and it fired. So, was it suicide in a technical kind of a sense?
I thought that
yes.
Wow.
But it was accidental, and that
was really sad. I mean, like, what's crazy is they had the security footage of the angle from the guy that was sitting at his office.
Right.
Chair. He was Joe's political, what do you call it again? Like
campaign manager.
Campaign manager.
Because he ran for president and then governor.
Yes.
I don't have time to touch all the weirdness of this.
Yeah.
Just move on from that, you know.
And like just seeing his reaction was like told all that more than I wanted to know, to be honest. Like the feeling of like disbelief and just like sitting there looking at it for like 20 seconds.
Right.
And then just like freaking out after.
Because it doesn't feel real. But that was the cast of characters they kept, though. That it was the bad company that did attack good character, and I think it's easy to watch these things and think, oh, these guys aren't real people, they're caricatures. I'm fine, I'm gonna be different. But I think it's important to understand that all of us do carry kind of spiritual blind spots because of the company we keep, and then being honest about are there influences I need to be cautious of? I mean,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. There's a balance I've tried to find too, because I can't just tell people never talk to another sinner, because then we ain't talking to nobody. But in kind of the same way, you got to be cautious about people that are in the inner kind of circle.
I think where I find it, where there's a difference between friends I have that are Christians and friends I have that are not. I think it comes down to, let me drink some water real quick.
Yeah.
Delicious. I think it comes down to where you put your I feel like, gosh, I don't want to say worth. I mean, that is important, obviously, but
a little bit.
I think there's a, I don't know how to, whether you let them influence you, I think is the right word.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I can just shut off that section. Like, friends who I know are on, chasing after God, and I know it's good to let them speak in my ear and learn from what they're saying. Like, there's just like an open gate, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Where it can just come in and that's good, but when it's someone who's not a Christian, I still have a really good relationship with them and can even go really deep with them, but like there's just the gate's kind of closed. Yeah. As far as advice and
in an ideal sense,
approval. I think that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for approval in what they say to you. And trying to be cool and fitting in with that.
I think that's an ideal, but I think all of us do kind of, to some extent, struggle through that a bit. I mean,
of course,
in an ideal, I only, or I just get the Christian influence in, and then I'm an influence to the non-Christian. But to be honest, it's not entirely how that goes, and I think there is an intentionality to it, that there are kind of a few aspects of sin that are fun. That of course I'm going to try and close off counsel that says don't do this, because this is unbelievably fun and it's killing my soul. That's how fun it is. If it in the immediate kind of context was painful to sin, no one would do it. The problem is it chases this temporary fleeting pleasure in exchange of eternity.
Right.
And that to be cautious of the character being erupted, there is an intentionality of, to a certain extent, I have to be okay putting people in my path that are smart, wise, and good Christian people that can take me out.
Yeah.
And be intentional of telling them, hey, it's going to be awkward. We're going to fight.
Yeah.
If I'm doing these things, I need you to shut me down.
Yeah.
I've told a few people I'm on their side, even if they aren't, and they don't always get that, and they will one day. But also, I have people that I've told be on my side, even if I'm not on my side.
Yeah.
And that's, you got to come at that on a place of being humble and saying, it's like, all right, this is the grossness I have, and here it is. Now please take me through this.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, that every Christian be okay doing that and have someone that calls out their garbage together. And that's dangerous, but that the Tiger King had no one calling out his garbage, if he did, there were so many other people that are okay going like, no, that's fine, power through.
I mean, I think it was just two opposite ends of pressure. Like, there's, like you said, there's people who are just, it's okay
to
do that, and then the people who weren't were just basically Carol Baskin, which is
Right.
someone he did not like.
Right.
And so there's just not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's no change that's going to happen.
Right.
And it is sad to see. I mean, because, like, you know, obviously he had, like, childhood stuff
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to, I mean, whether I don't agree with it, but, like, it is hard to be a gay person, and especially when your dad just straight up says, like,
You cannot come to my funeral.
You cannot come to my funeral. That's probably, like, the main thing.
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah, father hurt. Yeah, that was a huge deal for him.
and I think that just, yeah, it stinks.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we have to, like you said, we have to have those things where it's not like that scenario where it's two opposite ends.
Right.
Like, it is kind of nice to have, I mean, it sounds weird, and I'm kind of tired, which is probably why I'm thinking about it, because I've been up since 4 a.m. But, like, it is kind of nice to have people who aren't Christians in your life to challenge your Christianity,
Right.
if you know what I mean, which
Yeah,
sounds
okay.
terrible.
Yeah.
Because you
Do they know you're a Christian, kind of a thing?
right,
Yeah.
and not
Like-
even that, but like
Oh, good Christian boy over there doing this, and that, and you're like, I feel this big.
processing
Yeah.
their beliefs and why I believe what I believe, and going to the opposite end, which can sometimes, I mean, I agree, it can be unsafe, and
Right.
for like mentally, and
It's humbling, I'd say.
it is humbling.
Like it's a good.
I don't think everyone should do it, you know.
It's a good thermometer.
Right.
Of when they watch me, do they see Christ? You know, I had.
I mean, I'm not even thinking about it like that. I'm thinking about it like
Oh,
even
that's-
in the Rhett and Link episode where like Link was talking. It's almost this sense of like Link was talking about, you know, it's really easy to look up proof for Jesus, in his death, burial, and resurrection, but it's even harder and scarier to look up proof against it, and like that's what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
except in kind of a relationship circumstance,
Right.
and going through what they believe in. And I don't even know where I was starting out with this.
I think
but-
there's good points to that, but the ideal that it's bringing up in Corinthians is that bad company corrupts good character. Come back to your senses and stop sinning.
Right.
That if I'm trying to pursue God, then I need to be intentional that I have people of God that are the primary influences.
yeah.
And now I do think in the dealings I have to outside people, there is a clear, you know, that's an indicator of what is it they see. I actually had this and I'm not sure if I've talked about this or not. In middle school, I told a person I had to go to a church thing, and they stared back at me and said, "Oh, I didn't know that you were the kind of person who went to church."
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that was the same thing as getting just like
Hurts.
stabbed in the heart.
Yeah.
Of like, no, I actually believe Jesus is my Lord and Savior and saved me for eternity. But I can't really say that now because apparently I really stink at this whole thing. That there was just no indication of my faith at all in any context.
Right.
That you thought I was a non-Christian. In actuality, I'm on staff of the church, doing super good. You know, I mean that
Yeah.
was middle school, and that it was kind of a point that I had to really think through. All right, this is the character that's influencing me the strongest is non-Christian, and that it was a big deal for me because it was middle school. I changed tables in middle school because I was tired of being close to those bad influences that just picked on me and
Right.
everybody else, and I made some cool friends out of that. But I had to be okay to get rid of the other bad influences.
Change tables.
Yeah, man.
It is. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a big deal.
I remember
so,
public school. Like the
Yeah.
changing table things is a real thing
But
for all you homeschoolers out there.
as I thought about it, because it was that comment that kind of sparked everything of like, oh, I didn't think that you were the church going kind.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I don't actually believe this thing. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, every time I'm at this table, they make fun of me, they pick on me, I get angry, and then I take that out on everybody else. So the day I kind of said, I'm gonna go sit over here, and in the bravest thing I ever did, I asked these like 3 complete strangers, like, can I join you for lunch? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Just sit down. My gosh, don't make a thing.
Yeah.
And they ended up being really cool. And then they went to different high schools, and that kind of stunk. But
Yeah. I mean, I think
they were way cooler than me too. Hey, I'm gonna have to pull out the yearbooks, figure out who they are. Like, hey guys,
Gosh.
I miss you guys, and you're great.
Yeah.
They were fun.
I think about it as like a majority of what you put in is what's gonna come out typically.
Yeah.
And so, like, it is fine to have those friends who you are pouring into.
Right.
But when it becomes, like 80% of your friends,
Right.
watch out, because it's not going to end well. I mean, I think that's why colleges are so scary, for a lot of people. And
you will find the thing you're trying to find.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
And, it's the same thing. I mean, I kind of just go by that rule on anything, including consumption of media and, what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
And, it's just true.
Right.
Whatever you're putting in will come out in some way or
Right.
another. And I do think that, like, there was a point in your life where you kind of grow out of that. Not in the sense that, like, it's healthy, I would say, but, like, you look at Paul, which none of us are like Paul. Let me state that very clearly, where he was going around to churches, obviously, but, he had a lot of time, I would say, to himself as well, where he might not have been around, like, a lot of other Christians. And
he always brought his team alongside.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's probably a good point. But, like,
he was a jerk though.
Or even
Barnabas
like
has abandoned the faith.
missionaries.
He's just going somewhere
but
else.
like, I think that when you are called by God to do that,
Mm-hmm.
God is going to intentionally place people in your life during those points,
Right.
or
Right.
give you a way to go through that without the
There's a grace that follows that, and
Right,
also an accountability of checking in back home. I mean, there's
Basically,
a church
what
I was
I'm trying
at.
to say-
I processed so many files of their pastor that kept in touch and asked questions to all the missionaries. Actually, it was really cool because I was scanning all his documents and everything. He said, "Don't touch that one, or that one because you do not have clearance to read them." I'm like,
yeah.
I'm reading all of these as soon as you leave this office. He's like, give those to me. I'm like, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what I'm trying to say is it's always safe to make sure that you are, whether it's stuff you're consuming or the people you're around, make sure it is people who are after the same goal.
Right.
And
there's going to be disagreements on that. I mean, even we don't 100% agree on a roadmap to spirituality, I guess is the best way to put it. But I'm not going to start saying it's like, well, then we should totally part ways here. It's actually, there's a nice challenging against that. And I'm not going to try and take out a hit against Caleb or say, like, if he comes over here, we're going to put a bullet in his head. I'm not doing that either. The challenge is actually good because
I'm glad that you're Joe Exotic in this situation.
Does that mean you're Carol? Like, what do you?
I guess so.
Oh, hi, kittens and tigers.
I'm gonna go ride my bike.
I'm gonna ride the bicycle. That makes more sense. Again, we don't have time to talk about all the insanity of this whole thing. I kind of view that as iron trying to sharpen iron. I mean, that, if you kind of think about it, that's a brutal process. It's two things creating fiction to not fiction, friction. Sorry, creating friction,
Fiction.
to creating fiction. They're telling stories together. Creating, it's a painful process to sharpen a thing because it's grating to
Right.
one and takes energy out of the other.
Yeah.
It's painful, but that's the kind of thing that we're called to do in a Christian context is to challenge each other in that context, to say it's like, hey, this thing that you're doing is flat out wrong.
Right.
And if I don't actually bring that up, I don't love you.
Yeah.
And that's gone back and forth, and it's made for fun conversations at times, some heated conversations, but overall I'm glad they happen. Because they're in what?
Nothing.
Okay. I am glad they happened, but because we don't let each other stay in our spiritual mess of sin. I mean,
Yeah.
in 1 John 2:15 through 17, do you want to read that one?
Yes. Oh gosh, reflection. Oh gosh, I'm just gonna hold it up. All right. 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and the pride of life, is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever.
So as far as Tiger King goes, as I thought through it, those are the three things that they chased throughout that entire time. It may have started off about I enjoy cats, but in the end it turned into the desires of the flesh, the desires of the eyes, and pride of in pride. It came to that those are the things they all chased after.
Right.
And all of those things are going to fade at some point. Joe, at this point, he has none of them.
Yeah.
The other guy, whose name I don't remember, he is probably not going to have a lot of them soon. The other guy in North Carolina, somewhere, I don't know. He's been arrested also between the time they filmed it and it came out. He's been arrested.
Who's that?
The guy with the bad facial hair.
Oh, he has? Nice.
Yeah. He's been arrested. All these things, it was all about the desires of the flesh. I mean, the amount of promiscuity between all of them and chasing after that was very clear throughout the whole thing. The desires of the eyes, they were flaunting everything. It was a show. It was flexing, and it was putting all that out there. It was to say, I'm better than this. I have to have the biggest. I have to have the biggest, the best, and all that. And then pride of it's not just about being good, but it's about being better than the other person and putting them down in order to elevate myself. And I appreciate that if I start to get close to those, me personally, there are people that are okay pointing that out. Caleb is one of those people. I have a few others that if I start to get close to that, you call me out on it, and I need that, because all of us, as crazy as these guys seem, those are the three things we all crave in some context, and to think I'm above that is just wrong. And I don't know. I think that was, I mean, these are caricatures, but they should
real.
scare us a bit, because that could have been us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's... Like you said, I mean, it's not about the Tigers. And
no.
And it's not about even the industry. It's just about... Literally, I mean, like you said, the pride of life, desire of the eyes, it's all of that. And it's everything boils down to that. And I think everyone has a bit of that in them.
Right.
And I mean, like, I can think of 5 things just off the top of my head that I'm like, yeah, that's not from God.
Yeah.
That's just me. And like you said, having someone that can point that out if you ever try and take action on it and push you in the right direction. Push is a very intentional word.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think this is a great, I mean, really any crime documentary is going to show you this, but this one
because I've
is special.
Watched a few of them at this point too. I go through these gates of scared. I mean, at first it's okay. I'm scared that these are just people that are out there that are okay doing the kinds of things that they've done. Right. Like that could be my neighbor. That could be just the person down the street. And I'm like, okay, that can be scary at first. But then the scarier part is to think that the same kind of destructive power of being against God and doing these things is the same destructive power that we are trying to die to ourselves every day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the scary part. It's not that they did that, is that there isn't anything fundamentally different between them and me other than I have been snatched out of death by Christ.
Right.
And that's the scary part and kind of the things I still struggle through as far as being in sin goes. And I'm open about that off camera because I'm not, whatever. It's not for you guys, whatever. Those things, it's the same sin.
Yeah.
And that is the scary part to me, is that it is the same sin.
Yeah.
I have issues of pride. I mean, I would say not to the extent they do, but to be honest, I think it's just pride at that point. It's the same pride.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's always the scariest part of these, is to think these are just normal human beings that through editing they made to appear a bit more flamboyant. Granted, he probably is that flamboyant, but and the whole situation is weird. The whole thing is just weird, but still, these are just people. And that to me is the scariest part.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any other good takeaways from this that you found, or good thoughts on being just a dirty sinner?
I mean, if you want to be a dirty sinner, buy a tiger. It's as simple as that.
Right. See, I think that part of the appeal of the tigers is I own this thing of power, therefore I'm more powerful than power. And I think that is part of the appeal of private ownership of these animals. I mean, just kind of my personal stance that I'm open on. I don't think these kinds of animals should be privately owned. I don't think they tend to go well.
What do you think about zoos? It's the same thing. I mean, that's what I learned.
Well, I
mean, it's not. But as far as putting them in cages, yes.
So it would depend on the background of them. I mean, most of these places. All right, there's actually a big cat place, I think, in the north side of Florida. Caddyshack. I've been there a few times. Did we go?
No.
We need to go.
Saying that you want to take me, but
the world just shut down because someone ate a bat. So anyway, they are fantastic.
Yeah.
Their job is they take in these tigers and other animals that people have either through private ownership or anything else that they can't take care of. They do not breed them.
Yeah.
And they take care of them until the day they die.
Yeah.
Their job, it's.
Do they stink? Is it stinky there?
No, actually, no. It's because it's a big open cage and all that. But I appreciate them because they're trying to educate people, inform people, care over the animals. They have doctors on staff. That was different than Joe Exotic, who did medical procedures without a doctor. Turns out it's a big no-no as far as accreditation goes.
Yeah.
But they care over the animals that have been abused in the past, and they're fantastic because of that. I think that's the same thing on a few a place that take in animals. I know a while ago there was a documentary about, going to see a world, and people thought like, oh, they're horrible there. And I'm like, all right. I actually had a friend who was employed there that had gone through that and said 95% of that was absolute bogus, because they care about the animals. They're the first people out there. If a whale beaches itself or any of that, they're caring over them. They're trying to take care of them. Stuff does happen every now and then because it is sea world and they do have to put on the shows, but also their job is to educate and inform people, and it isn't as bad as that documentary made it sound. But I do think it kind of depends on what it is they're doing. I don't think breeding in captivity is probably that good of an idea. I don't know. For like tigers though, there's so many other things that go into it.
I mean, my thing is like I by no means support it, but it's just interesting to see how some people carry the value of different animals. Because like you breed a dog in captivity, no problem. You breed a snake in captivity, no problem. You breed, and I get it. It's like endangered. Right. And like that's typically why, because there's, point documentary brings up is there's more tigers in captivity than out in the wild.
And I think that's the problematic part.
Yeah. And from what I understand, you can't just breed these tigers and release them into the wild.
No.
Just because that's not how that works.
Yeah. Well, they'll die. They'll get killed. I think this is probably the harder part to figure out is, there's a difference between a person that got into business to make money and a person that got into a business because he cares about a topic and also made money.
Yeah.
It's an issue of the heart. The same thing as any kind of sin is, where's the heart in this? And this is a thing that can be difficult to judge. I can judge it based on fruit, but even that is still sometimes gets kind of fuzzy. I think to these people in the documentary, the fruit was very clear as to be able to make, I'd say, a pretty conclusive argument on the state of their heart. Right. Other cases, it's not as easy.
Yeah.
I mean, we bred pandas so they would not be going extinct. We bred pandas. Do I think animal breeding is 100% wrong all the time? No. Do I think sometimes though? Yeah, absolutely. If they're breeding pandas to sell panda cubs to people that probably they shouldn't be owning panda cubs, then yeah, that's a problem. Same thing on tigers.
Yeah. Like if I bought a panda right now, no. Like that's just,
you would be an idiot, and I would tell you you're an idiot. I probably wouldn't say it any different.
I mean, first, let's be honest here. You'd admire how cute the panda cub.
I'd be like, "Oh, you're such an idiot! Yeah. Like, oh, you're such a doofus!" And that's kind of the thing is, I get owning a tiger because there is part of that that's cool, but it's a vanity issue.
I hate cats. I would not ever do that. I'm
right.
As far as admiring a tiger, I love them. But to own one or any form of cat, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it's a big step from tabby to white.
Is it though?
Tiger. Like, what do you?
They're all cats.
Nah, I would say they're different.
Cats are evil. I mean, even tigers, they want to kill you.
I don't know. Cats are kind of cute. There's a cat I want. It can jump 7 feet.
What cat is this?
I don't remember the name of it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a house cat. No, it's a house cat. It can jump 7 feet straight in the air.
Like if it's scared?
No, just if it's Tuesday. Like, it just jumps. And I'm just thinking it'd be the coolest thing in the world.
Jump on top of that fan.
Yes.
How?
Huh? It's the coolest cat ever. It enjoys walks and being put on a leash. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to be that eccentric dude who walks his cat.
Oh, God. No.
It's going to be like jumping around like, what is it? No one knows. So,
gosh. Yeah.
Well, to everyone else out there, is this a documentary that you've seen? Are you interested in seeing it? I have a few people who are straight up not interested in seeing it.
Yep.
And oh boy, you're missing a show. What a weird... It's not kid-friendly. Put the kids to bed first. But then, choo-choo, watch the train wreck.
Yeah.
But do you have thoughts on anything that's been brought up in our podcast today? Reach out and tell us, or post on our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram at Nobody Special Podcast.
Yep.
Or give us a message on a website at thegospeloutpost.com/Nobody Special.
Did you just handle everything? Wow. That was
Do you
impressive.
how many stars should they give us on Instagram?
Oh, I did
3.
on Instagram.
Well, on iTunes.
I'm too tired for that. I was like, wait, what?
On iTunes. How many stars do you think they should give us on iTunes?
Probably about like 1.
4. Yeah, 3, 4. Yeah. We're not a 5. This isn't Serial.
Yeah.
Is Serial still going?
I think so. I don't know.
We'll have to check.
I've never listened to it, but...
Yeah, but give us thoughts on all that's been brought up, or if there's anything that there's an interest in asking us, go ahead and tell us, because we will talk about anything, except the Schmarona going around.
Schmarona
because
Tyrus.
we have nothing to say, and we've said it.
Yep.
We've said it. We don't want to do it. So anyway, Caleb, any final thoughts?
No,
You
I
wanna
think
make
that's
a-
going to do it for us today.
I'm Danny,
And I'm Caleb.
and we are
Nobody special.